the slides are French, but I'll be speaking English. That shouldn't be a problem. So the main idea I'd like to say tonight is that maybe compared to everybody else that's been speaking up till now, we, like NewFinance, believe that financial innovation is coming through technology. So, okay, so I'll do this in 3 key points. First of all, saying why we built SparkUp. Second, what is it that we're building? And thirdly, a few case examples of what's going on and the results we've seen. So first of all, why did we build SparkUp? We built SparkUp because crowdfunding is actually social funding. So this might not have been set up till now because you have seen only equity crowdfunders here, but the market of crowdfunding is essentially a market in which it's not the platform that brings the money, it's the projects that bring the money through their communities. So that's just not me saying this. This is the vision stated out by all of the major reward-based crowdfunding. It's what the data says about major crowdfunding platforms in France, like KissKissBankBank, or worldwide Kickstarter, of course. So if you look at the data in France, for example, Vincent Ricordo is on record saying that up to 75% of the funds raised via KissKissBankBank are actually coming from the network, the direct network and indirect network of project owners. Secondly, if you look at Kickstarter data, so you have a study by Malik, who's a professor at Wharton, if I remember correctly, and he showed that if you move from 10 to 1,000 Facebook friends, your probability of success of your Kickstarter campaign is multiplied by 4. So crowdfunding is actually social funding. So it's with this idea in mind that we decided that we were going to do something like that into equity. But before doing it, we just looked at the data and said, well, is there something going on in the data of the equity markets that will allow us to say that there's a market to be built in equity crowdfunding? So we don't have the numbers for France, but we have the numbers for the US. In the US, between 60 to 140 billion dollars are invested every year by friends, family, and fools. This is data that comes from a foundation of business angels. So this is business angels saying that you have 60 to 140 billion dollars that's coming from informal investors that they don't account for. And they say themselves that this money is actually 3 times more than the sum of business angels, venture capitalists, and state funds. So the cash is actually in informal investment by non-professional investors. So having in mind that crowdfunding was actually helping companies or projects get people from their community to finance them, and combining it with the fact that you had very large informal financial markets, we said, well, let's do something that brings technology to that market and makes it better. So that's why we built SparkUp. So SparkUp is what? SparkUp is a machine, technology, that's going to help companies, that actually currently already helps companies, raise funds through their network. So today it's basically talking to your friends, but also talking to your Facebook friends, your LinkedIn connections, the connections of your LinkedIn connections, and finding the people who are going to invest in your company. That's the idea. In the long run, it will also be somebody like Uber, Airbnb, Dropbox saying that we want to do an IPO. Well, let's capitalize on the communities we have, which are huge, and in most cases, in which we know who has the money. For example, think about Uber. Uber kind of knows who has the cash to invest in their company since they know who takes a bill in Uber every day. Okay, so what are the advantages of raising money via this kind of mechanism? 3 major points in the purely financial aspect. First of all, you raise more money, faster, and better quality. So more money. We are all talking about very small numbers here because we're talking about how we are already helping very small companies who don't have access to traditional, even business angel networks, etc., right? But the numbers we're seeing is that we have entrepreneurs on record saying, we have helped them triple the Lovemoney that they have raised. So that's number 1. And I'll give you a few other examples. Secondly, we help them raise money faster. So we see that in under 15 days, we can say if a company is not going to raise funds. And so we're going to help a company fail faster, which is very important in its fundraising process. And secondly, we have also examples of companies raising money very fast. So for example, we have one example of a company raising 75,000 euros in 20 minutes. Which is, I think, a record in France. Not sure. And thirdly, on average, we have the same numbers that what Joachim from Anexago was saying, which is between 30 days to 90 days. I think it's the worldwide average anyway, so that's pretty It's obvious. Thirdly, and I think this is more unexpected, and this is coming from a completely different planet than what you were saying earlier from in Ansowi Fund. SparkUp works for companies. We are a tool, a technology that is used by companies. So our clients are the companies. And we see that companies that use our tools get better deals for themselves. They get better valuation, they get better term sheets than what they would have gotten through business angel networks. There are very simple reasons for that. First of all, they're talking to more people at the same time. Well, when you talk to more people, it's a divide and rule principle. You'll get a better deal because you're leveraging ones against the other. Second element, you are holding the pen. It's your term sheet that's being discussed. It's not the classic term sheet that's being dictated by the business angel network. So typically, the kind of clauses, like liquidity clauses that we were presenting earlier about how in 5 years you have to sell your company, that just never happens in a SparkUp campaign. We have never seen a ratchet clause. We've never seen a bad lever clause. The companies that raise funds through us just get better deals. And we've seen it for ourselves. So we are our biggest SparkUp campaign. We raised 600,000 euros. We're closing next week. And none of these clauses are in our deals. We barely have a board, or comité stratégique. Another advantage of doing a SparkUp campaign that's more classical, and it's like all other crowdfunding platforms, is that you accelerate your business by creating a community of ambassadors, of course. I would only say that because people are coming from your network, they probably have more links to you, so more incentive to actually get shit done, or they have a link to your project, so they, same way, get more shit done, and they're not coming at it from a purely financial perspective or purely, I want to reduce my tax bill this year. Okay, so thirdly, last thing, that's again is similar to all other equity crowdfunding platforms, and I think this is why people should not underestimate the importance of equity crowdfunding, is that even though the dollar amounts are much lower than peer-to-peer lending, for example, every dollar of equity funding that we are helping get into the market is huge, because equity is what actually gets loans to happen on the other side, and there's money to make loans everywhere. So the actual challenge today is to help people get into conditions where they can actually get loans. So I'd say, honestly, all equity crowdfunding platforms deserve 3 cheers for getting into this mess and trying to get money into this kind of markets. Last point, so a couple of examples. I'll have a couple of minutes for one minute for each one. So why did I picked this one, 11 cars, so they raised 75,000 in 20 minutes. Why did I pick them? Of course, because it's kind of a very speedy financing, but more importantly, because they are not innovative. It's basically 2 guys who know how to buy and sell vintage premium cars. They've been doing it for a couple of years, and now they want a showroom to get more clients. So you have nothing really innovative, nothing really unbelievably sexy. There's no way they would have gotten money from a business angel network or VC funding or any kind of thing like that. But when they turned to their community, well, one of their clients literally shouted at the guy on the phone saying, why didn't you just call me? Of course I'll write the check. And he had 20 other guys who wanted to put money in the company, all of them coming from basically his client list. So that's the kind of equity crowdfunding we facilitate. Second example is Carfully. So Carfully is kind of drivey in the French, in Martinique. Basically, when you go on vacation there, you have people from there renting a car to you. We helped them raise they wanted to raise 100,000 euros, and we helped them raise 126,000 euros. And this is coming from people who said themselves that they were not having any success with business angel networks or other kind of business angels. And they managed to get that done in 9 weeks, which is pretty cool. And what is interesting in their case, so the numbers, this and this doesn't add up. So I looked at the data. This is, I think, the actual data. So the main thing that's coming out of there is that it shows the wide range of investors that comes from a SparkUp campaign. So you have anybody from the community of the project, family, of course, but more importantly, friends of friends. So that's recommendation, word of mouth people, professional networks. And if you sum professional networks and word of mouth, that's actually not 56, but that's 67%. And most of the funding is not at all coming from people who are very close to the companies. It's coming from people who are far from the companies. It's people that had no clue what you were doing for the last few years, but because you reach out to them and they know you, they trust you, they decide to bet on you. So just to conclude, 3 important things. 1, crowdfunding is actually social funding. That's why we're building a tool which helps companies raise money through their networks, and this is going to beep. Okay, thanks. And it's actually already working, and the question now is how many companies we can help, how many traditional companies we can help, and if we can help companies raise bigger amounts. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Questions for Jeremy? Who's got a question?
You talked about technology, so what type of technology do you use?
Okay, so basically we're bringing all kinds of stuff from web marketing, marketing automation, CRM technologies, and just making it very, very simple and adapting it to the equity primary market. So very concretely, today, a company, you can decide to tonight create a teaser, an online teaser for your company. You can import all of your contacts in a few clicks wherever they are. We'll automatically deduplicate, clean your database, enable you to, in a few clicks, launch optimized emailing campaigns on your different groups. You have behavioral follow-up emails, so you don't open my email, I'll send you another one in 1 week, which is adapted to the fact that you didn't open the first one, which is different that if you opened but did not click, which is different that if you had clicked but didn't go any further. We'll catch you if you click and then go on invest and then drop out. We'll tell the company that they should be calling you because you're actually interested. We'll help. Will enable your contacts, if they're contacted, can give access to their networks. They'll just upload their contacts and enable you to contact them. All kinds of stuff, and that's only the beginning. So essentially, we're just adapting all kinds of stuff that exists in the general market, which is very far from finance, and we're saying, okay, let's adapt all of this stuff, making it very, very simple, because we're not selling all kinds of different products. We're just selling one kind of product, which is company equity. That's all.
Jeremy, could you present yourself?
Yes. So Jeremy, I started SparkUp just out of school, and that's about it.
And and your team?
2 years ago. So Spark. I'm from Sciences Po and HEC. That was the question. And as for the team, so today. This is the end of July, so we have a lot of interns. That is 10 of us right now. We'll go back to normal numbers. That is 6 people by September, and we should be 12 by January. Half and half technology and biz dev.
Which is your criteria for selecting projects for the platform, or
no criteria? It's a free for all. So we do not see ourselves as another intermediary. Sorry. We enable companies to go directly to the market. So they choose everything from. We don't filter, first of all, and secondly, they'll decide what's the valuation, what's the term sheet, what's everything.
And is there any regulation, because you said that?
So to avoid any kind of problem with the regulation, we make them communicate only insufficient amount of information to make a financial decision. So that's the information that goes out that goes to the greater public. And you will have fewer than 150 people who will get access to the details that will enable them to make a decision. That's how we get around all of the IPO regulation. And as for us, well, we are not regulated, but because if you go on, because nowhere do we ever say, this is a startup in which you shouldn't be investing. If you go on our website, you won't see the companies that are currently being funded. We don't have community meetings. We don't have any of that stuff, which would make us financial advisors. We are not financial advisors. We are a technological firm.
Okay, and do you use like, you explained it during your presentation that it's very important the network of the person or the group that are doing the campaign. So do you have like a community that they could use to boost the financing?
Again, no.
Or
we don't have one community, it's their community. We are a tool to transform their community, and through their community to reach the greater public, but it's not our community, it's their community.
So that is very different.
Very different. I mean,
today
they are all the other actors who are more or less differentiated, but are more or less in the same kind of universe, and we are in a totally different ballgame.
Okay, I understand. And
We're complete lunatics.
okay, yes.
Jeremy, just tell me, how do you make money?
We take a cut of the amounts raised.
Like how much? What percentage?
We take 8%, and it's maxed at 10,000 euros.
Thank you very much, Jeremy.
Yeah.